You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
I don't know if I'm okay. I don't see the light of day. Looking up to higher ground, thinking that'll be your sweet escape. These days got a schedule to romance. They say that love is a slow dance. A short bike ride to the crib, using no hands. Oh shit, it feel like I'm floating, but I'm falling with both eyes closed when I let the world spin. Testing the water, she got my nerves tense. Back when I ain't even have a purpose, I was so eager to learn some things. Anxiety bring out the worst in me. Society paint me as enemy. My niggas making it by that remedy. I'm more occasional, don't do it regularly. Backs under my eyes, weighing down heavily. Mama been worried, the devil allegedly deep in the plan. Subconsciously wanted it since I was 10. I thought I was sharp on my scroll and my pen think it did. So mama found shit of them legs. She told me that's not who I am. But nowadays I put on for the fam, see her when I can. I'm surrounded by my feelings, I'm stuck on a Ferris wheel. I bet I perish with 140 acres. She want the horse and the carriage, a porcelain portion of garbage. I talk to the mirror, I know that life's not the fairest. I lost my can, I can't pay off the bills with the blessing. Not sure I relate to the Reddit page. It's feeling like money is everything. Money is everything. It's everything I need. Till I lay my eyes on you. I don't know what this is, yeah, but it feel like it's real, baby. I don't wanna pretend.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Mr. Anthony Handy for that wonderful introduction. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? It's your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 19 of the podcast. Episode 19, season 17, of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. And in this episode, we are talking about previewing the Baltimore Ravens versus those Miami Dolphins. Before we get into this, few things I want to say up front. After this episode 20 will be recorded, 18, 19, and 20 will go up. We will record the year review sometime tomorrow, and that'll go up as soon as it's done recording. So stay tuned in for that. And then I will end season 17. Season 18 will start Monday. You'll hear all the announcements, what's going on in season 18. So please check out episode 18 of this recent episode previewing the women's basketball team. Stay tuned in for that. We're going to recap the Dolphins game in 18 as well as San Francisco and Washington games where we're just previewing. So, and also tune this episode. My point again, how I don't trust the national sports media towards Lamar Jackson. Once again, has put another example of the point I'm trying to get across to some. And we're going to talk about that in the final thought. But let's get into it. The Miami Dolphins versus those Baltimore Ravens. It is, for me, a revenge game. Last time we saw these boys was last year. And painfully, we lost. We lost in overtime. For me, this is, to me, two of the top teams in the AFC. This is not, to me, a playoff matchup. This is just to get AFC supremacy. We win this game, we will be, we'll have the number one seed. We know what's at stake. We've won three in a row. We can win the number one seed, have a first round bye, get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. We've only secured the top AFC spot once, ironically, since we've been in existence as a franchise. Miami can actually still take the number one seed if they beat Baltimore. And then Buffalo will go on the road to face them. So this is definitely going to be a matchup to watch. For me, just looking at the game, I think just knowing who our opponent is, Miami, I think they're probably one of the most high-scoring offenses this season. They're down there averaging almost 31 points a game. They lead the league in yards per play, passing yards, rushing yards. I mean, when healthy, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Morstead, Devon Etienne. They they're just something. It's almost like a cheat code, but I think their defense has also kind of been not really talked about. I mean, they're top 5 to me, especially points per game. They're 4th at giving up yards, rushing yards. They're 5th. Sacks, I think they're also 5th, if I'm mistaken correctly. I want to say no. I want to say it's like they're 4th, and yards per game in the 4th in sacks, something along those lines. It's one of those two. I can't remember what it says, but I know they're in the top. They're definitely up there in terms of stats. Ravens, we're right there behind them. We're just 2 sacks less than what they've had. That their best pass rusher, Jalen Phillips, he's out for the season, towards Achilles back in week 12. But for me, their offense is something to just galvanize, but also to they don't take for granted on their defense. For me, and again, this is what I said since the start of the season, I think for me, a team that can stay the healthiest, that matters. And when you look at the injuries, especially on the side of Miami, starting to kind of creep up. Jalen Waddle will not be playing in tomorrow's game because there's a high ankle sprain. That hurts. He has over 1,000 receiving yards. Last time in the matchup, he had caught the ball 11 times for 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. Javon Holland hasn't played since week 12 because of an MCL sprain. Robert Hunt has not played since week 13 because of a hamstring injury. Their guard Isaiah Wayne's on IR. Connor Williams is out for the season. Austin Jackson's dealing with an oblique injury. And again, 3 of their 4 losses have come on the road. So I think beating Miami was a confidence booster that they needed, but I still feel as though that just like Baltimore, I think they kind of have to prove that they can win on the road. And then even though I think, they haven't, I think the last time they've made the playoffs back-to-back, that was when they had Jay Fedler in the crew, if I remember correctly. Because it'd be the first time where they've beaten 10-win teams in consecutive weeks, I want to say. But making the playoffs back-to-back years. I want to say it was like this is post-Dan Marino, and they'd had like Jay Fedler, O.J. McDuffie, Orlando Gaston, and those guys. So shout and they're doing all the right things. For us, Baltimore, we lost Keaton Mitchell last week for the rest of the season. He just had the surgery this past week, so went successful though. Just at this point now, wishing Keaton a successful, healthy rehab, and take your time. And can't wait to see him back on the field next year. Stopping the run, to me, is going to be the key. We have not the greatest run defense. In our 3 losses, we've given up almost 134 yards a game. We allowed Christian McCaffrey and Kyron Williams to rush over 100 yards. Miami's 5th in rushing attempts. We're going to have to figure out how to contain Raheem Morstead and Devon Archett. On the offense, again, Gus Edwards, I don't think is really 100%. It's coming off, his injury. Justice Hill is not really he's a 3rd option. And now Melvin Gordon got caught up. So they've averaged a combined 3.6 yards per carry the last 6 games. And we got to be better, especially come clock management, especially late in the 4th quarter. We need to run the ball. For me, I think with Baltimore, I think even we're averaging almost 30 points in our victories, the last 9 games, especially not having J.K. Dobbins, Keaton Mitchell, and Mark Andrews, I think this is a good year. Around this time, Lamar is always playing perfect at home. He's 9-0 in December. He has not had, which is the most home wins without a loss in the calendar year. I want to say almost goes back to the 50s, I want to say. So ring your hat on that stat. But I think what's going to come down to is the turnovers. I think for Baltimore to beat Miami, we've got to create turnovers. We have forced a 26 turnovers so far this season. That's the most almost last 6 years watching this team. 5 interceptions against San Fran. That was pretty big. Their plus 10 differential in turnovers is the best in the league. I think that's key. We've scored 91 points off turnovers this season. Miami is second with 99. I mean, for me, the key is also we cannot give up turnovers, especially in the 5-game win streak. No team has turned the ball over less than we have. We've only had 2 turnovers in the last almost 332 offensive plays. Ringer had on that stat. And those 2 turnovers were 2 interceptions. Anywho, and then Miami. I'm curious to see how they'll look with Jalen Waddle not there. I know Tyreek Hill's going to get his. I know Raheem Morsett's going to get his. But we got to take somebody out the equation and shut them down. I'm curious to see how their second string running back, Devon Achane, looks. I think he can definitely be I think Miami's going to go all out. But since his comeback off his knee injury, I want to say week 13, he's cracked over 100 yards from scrimmage only once. Even though he's touched the ball double digits in the last 3 or 4 games. I think how you contain the run game is going to be key for me in this game. I think Baltimore can surprise these guys. Because looking back at the game against Dallas, Miami showed you how to limit Miami's explosive plays. 2 of Tua's 24 passes went for 20 yards plus, and only 2 Raheem Morstead's rushes went for more than 10 yards. Then, it was, Miami for the most part was like a bend but don't break, but it was slowly breaking. And I'm curious to see, and I already know Mike McDonald's going to find some strategies to definitely continue from what he did against San Fran. But I think for me, the offense will be key. We're going to have to find ways to make big plays if we're going to get our revenge and stay on top of the AFC. I already know Miami's defense is going to come out ready for us, but we're going to be ready for them. I think if we do all the right things in this game, we'll be fine. I'm not worried because I already know what Miami is. However, like I said, I don't see this just like San Francisco. I don't see it as a playoff matchup. I see this as letting people know who the best team in the league is. And this is a game for me where I think Lamar has to show out, especially of all the criticism he's gotten, of all some people downplaying the MVP conversation. Again, he's having a fantastic season, and I think he can do it. I'm not worried about what will look. Man, we both secured our playoff spots. At this point, I said it earlier, this is just competing for number 1 seed. For me, if Baltimore can come out aggressive, clock management, mixing the run and pass, containing the run, that defense, I think that the defense is also going to be key. They have the ability to stiff their opponents. Example, they kept Seattle in check to 3 points. Jacksonville to 7. Painfully, yes, we gave up almost 430 yards to San Francisco, but only gave up 20 points. 5 interceptions. So our pass rush defense were 6th, while against the run we're 12th. Now, Kyle Hamilton's questionable to play, and Brandon Stevens is also questionable to play. So I'm just curious to see what it will look like. But I think for me, this is definitely going to be a battle. This is going to be definitely battle tested. Now, looking at the injuries for us, Jalen Armour Davis is out with a concussion. Kevin Zeitler's questionable as well with a knee quad injury. Zay Flowers is also questionable with a calf injury, and Deshaun Phillips is also questionable with a shoulder injury. I already said Jalen Waddle's out with an ankle injury. Robert Hunt's doubtful to play with a hamstring. Offensive line. They have an offensive lineman named Liam Etchenberg, calf, ankle. Javon Holland, he has both his knees. Xavier Howard, his hip and thumb injury. Austin Jackson, oblique. Raheem Morstead is with a knee and ankle injury. They have another offensive lineman, Lester Cotter, with a hip injury, and then Jalen Ramsey with a knee. So we won't really know what's going to happen until game time, because usually some of these guys are game time decision. I will be surprised if Javon Holland plays, because from what I've heard, like I said, he hasn't played in a few weeks, and those injuries are kind of serious. And like I said, this is the injuries starting to creep up, especially looking at their offensive line. So I think it's going to be a great game for me. I think the final score, I'm going to look along the lines of Baltimore gets their revenge, 31-21. Guaranteed. I just think that just Baltimore is just their momentum's high. And I think looking at how Miami has been on the road and watching how they snuck out of Dallas with the W, Dallas should have won that game, but there was a few blunders. But I can't, and it's a home game for Baltimore too. I cannot see Baltimore coming out sluggish. I think they're going to come out ready for them, and they're going to be ready for us. So I'm not worried about how I expect us to kind of struggle a little bit. I think we're going to kind of feel each other out, but come out, have a strong run game. I think the offense is going to be key for our success. Outside of Lamar Jackson, Isaiah Likely, OBJ, Nelson Aguilar, Zay, Rashard Bateman, Gus Edwards, Melvin Gordon, Justice Hill, and even Patrick Clark. They're going to be key for success. And also to the offensive line. Watch as the rotations too, rotating out offensive linemen. That's going to be key. Containing Miami's pass rush. Like I said, we won't really know how everything will be until right just before tip-off, because some of these guys may play, some guys may not play. So we're going to be ready for them. It's going to be a great game. I'm excited for it. So the moment you've all been waiting for, let's get into one final thought.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
Actually, before we get into one final thought, my apologies. Producers, let's get into the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, because I want to make sure that I'm cool, calm, and collective. Let's talk about it. Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast is sponsored by Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? You can and you will with Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
You can and you will dress like you're already famous with a nice 15% off using my discount code BIGNATE off your final purchase. Ladies and gentlemen, you will dress like you're already famous. Thank you, Zagnif Apparel, for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. We will be right back.
thoughts are running through my mind. So took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
One final thought. So, oh boy. A couple days ago, there was some discourse on Fox Sports Radio, and the conversation was regarding MVP. Mono Bolaños. First and foremost, let me just say this. When I said at the beginning of the season, I don't trust the sports media towards Lamar Jackson, it started in the offseason because, number one, they questioned his worth. Well, really, even before the offseason, they questioned if he legitimately had an injury. Because remember, he injured his PCL in the Denver game. Mind you, that's the same injury that ended Robert Griffin III's football career. Traveled with the team to Cincinnati. Then in the offseason, well, what's his worth? You know, to me, the most scrutinized quarterback outside of Dak, outside of Tua. Everybody wants to bring up the playoff record. Everybody wants to on Fox Sports Radio. So let's take a listen. Oh, okay. Try this again. Here it is. Okay. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Found the clip.
Great game against the 49ers. Great game. The defense, exquisite against the 49ers. But he's also had 4 games this year without a touchdown pass. 4. Then he's had other games where he had 1 touchdown. 2 games, like he has not been. In the words of Colin Cowherd, stars attract stars. No, I'm just kidding. This is what we do, and Rich. But I want my quarterbacks to be quarterbacky. And to me, Lamar Jackson is just a great athlete, and he's done a really good job, and he had a great game against the 49ers. Prisoners of the moment. He is not the MVP. Christian McCaffrey is the MVP, and he has been. I've been saying this great game.
Okay, so y'all heard it. Look, I thought, to me, it's just been this discord, particularly how regarding black quarterbacks. And when I get it. The days of having a Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, those days are gone. This is a different era of football. Like it's to me, and again, we all have our biases. I'll be the first man. I have my own bias, but I think it's distasteful when others don't recognize it. Like, okay, that's fine. You don't think Lamar Jackson's an MVP. That's cool. I respect it. But you kind of preface your comments by saying you don't really like him. Again, like, to me, not saying to see a top 5 player perform at a league without some of his best, but not having Mark Andrews, not having J.K. Dobbins, not having Keaton Mitchell. Like, and then you turned around and you're like, well, he's just a great athlete. That's, to me, that's belittle him. And the same thing coming into league. Everyone was like, he should be wide receiver. And the rhetorical question is, what the hell is quarterbacky? Like, what is that? And again, the same thing. Coming in, like I said, going to college, shouldn't switch wide receiver, can't read defenses, all this blah 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 blah. If I'm not mistaken, didn't John Elway win MVP with 19 touchdowns? So I've gotten to the point where we have to be better. I'm tired of, to the point, like, we've got to be better. Just give a guy his respects. Christian McCaffrey is clearly worthy of MVP. He leads the league with almost 1,400 yards in rushing, 21 total touchdowns. He's going to potentially break Jerry Rice's single-season record, 1,932 yards from scrimmage. Lamar Jackson, 3,357 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, almost 800 yards rushing, 5 rushing touchdowns. Like, to sit there and say he's not quarterbacky, that's bullshit. And again, it just proves the point that, once again, the national media toward Lamar Jackson, can we just please, all I ask is give a guy his respect when it's due. I mean, they completely dismissed him as MVP candidate, I think, and also a former Heisman. That's a bit disrespectful. And then to add to say he's just a great athlete, that's a loaded, he do it racially charged phrase, whether he want to say that or not. Just saw the same example with Bill O'Brien. I don't remember the young man's name, but basically said the same thing. You're a great athlete, but you're not a quarterback. And if I remember to leave, I'll leave the link in the description. But it's just disgusting that this is the type of stuff that, once again, in the sad part is it's thrown in our faces. And most people caught on to it. And then she came on, it's like, it's your thought process. You could have phrased that. If you just said, I think Lamar Jackson is having a great year, but he's not my MVP. No problem. Cool. Left it at that. But I want my quarterbacks to be quarterbacky. I'm going to leave it off with something the great Robert Griffin III said along with Cam Newton, because let me just play the clip.
You embody what I believe is now the prototypical NFL quarterback. I think it's changed. They used to frown upon guys who could use their legs, who had creativity in the pocket. In today's game, that's all they want. Look at the top guys in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen.
Those are the majority now. Who's a stay-in-the-pocket quarterback? That would be easier. I'll say Jared Goff, probably Matthew Stafford.
He's gotten a little bit more mobile, but I feel you.
I don't even think Patrick Mahomes is just a stationary guy. He's not going to run past the line of scrimmage. He's going to create.
The prototypical NFL quarterback now is a guy that beats you with his arm, beats you with his legs, and beats you with his mind. And there was guys before us. Mike Vick was before us. Randall Cunningham was before us. Donovan McNabb was before us. You could go even back to Steve Young. All these guys played the game a similar way that we do. But now it's accepted as this is the mold of the quarterback that we need playing in the NFL.
There's another one I want to show you. It's something that shout out to Sarah Ellison, who's the co-host of Ravens Vault podcast. She had the great Steve Young on the show. And it's something she said, and I liked it. If I can find it, 1 second. It was really good because it was some things that he said that really, really stood out. And oh wait, let me see. Here's the clip.
Bill Walsh, when I first joined the 49ers, he told everybody, we're not going to tackle. That's table stakes. I know you can tackle. Let's work on timing. Same thing with Lamar. I know you can run. We don't need to work on that. That'll never go away. He'll be 40 years old and making people miss. I promise you. that is not a problem. And so this other part of it, and I think, Sarah, you've hit it too. It's not just getting weapons and not just getting the process and the commitment to a sophisticated passing game and then calling them in clutch situations and big games or week to week. It's really Lamar needs to make that transition. And I think he is chewing on that. And I just encourage him to keep chewing on it.
You'd be happy to know that even everybody that's on your side, let me tell you how big time Lamar's committed. It's the point where it's 9 seconds, 8 seconds before he throws because he'll dodge.
I saw that.
He'll dodge somebody. You saw it with Smoot, right?
So I said at the beginning of the season, everyone's like, just run. I'm like, just let him cook. Let him test it. Let him. I appreciate you mentioning that because I did see it early in the season, and they're like, this is not working. This is crazy. And it's like, no, you've got to go through. There's a process to it.
Yeah.
And I think I'll say for fun, it's ahead of schedule. Just don't give up on it because the results will be for the Baltimore Ravens, possibly. I mean, let's be foolish. 4 Super Bowls in a row. I'm just you could, but if he could get to that place with the right people and all the things, he would be unstoppable. And like Patrick Mahomes, if he can get enough help, he's going to be in the Super Bowl every year. And so that's I want Lamar and Patrick kind of every year battling it out for who's in the Super Bowl.
You think that ability is still going to be there well over 10 years from now?
100%. I was 38 years old making people miss. 100%. Stay healthy. Don't have any big injuries. Your joints feel good. And now in today's game when they can't hit you anyway, look, I believe you can go into 4. I didn't leave the game because of my legs. I could still run. Well, honestly, I think I wore out.
And here's the final clip, and this kind of drives the point home. And this is a Hall of Famer who I also too think set the tone for a mobile quarterback. RG3 talked about Michael Vick, RG3, but Steve Young also too beat teams with not only just his legs, but his arm, but just his legs as well. And just something that he mentioned on Sarah and on Bobby's podcast. This also, for me, this speaks just volumes, I think, to just who Steve Young is and what, again, seeing what Lamar has done for the game, this special player that he is in this league.
Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Michael Vick. These are my people. I feel a tremendous kinship to the challenge of being mobile and playing the position. I don't relate as much to Peyton and to Dan Marino. They played a different game because of the capabilities that they had. And so those are unique challenges that they can speak to that I actually can't speak to as well. But the game in some ways in the last 20 years since I retired has come to me. It's the game that I was the oddity back 20 years ago. Now it's you're the prototype. And so when I see my people, my guys in a situation that's not being, given the opportunity to flourish, then I'm going to speak up. And so that's where this got started. Don't tell me Lamar that's Lamar. He can't do certain things. He can't, I pull my hair out. That's when you could see the more I talked on that thing, you could see more of the emotion that I had that had been built up, because do not diminish the potential of what Lamar Jackson can be in the game today. The game is his game. I've admired and the humility and the savviness of John and the people inside the building that have done this, because to me, I think it opens up the possibility for a big victory on Monday night and wins in January, and you saw the growing pains early in the season as they try to transition. There's growing pains, and Lamar's going to have growing pains as he, and that's not over, by the way. We're kind of just starting it. And so, is it ahead of schedule? It feels like a little bit. And I beg them to just continue to take the chances to let him develop, because I still believe that, like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar could be the greatest player. And you see Patrick headed that direction. And I think Lamar and he could go head to head for, 10 more years. And if I was in his shoes, I want to speak for him. He hasn't asked me to do that, but I feel like I'm an older guy. I got to speak for my guys.
And it makes me feel good that, somebody who, again, watching the games, but more importantly, giving respect where it's given. Lamar Jackson's a special player. Like, does he have his flaws? Yes. But Ms. Bolaños, the comment she made in terms of quarterbacky, it just proves the point once again that we have to be careful of when we're making comments like that, because to me that was ignorant. Let's just call it what it is. It was ignorant. And more importantly, again, if she just said Lamar Jackson is not my MVP, this is my MVP, and in the same breath you said great athlete, you're discrediting what he means for the Ravens. And again, for everybody to bring up, this will be the worst statistical year for a quarterback to win an MVP. Peyton Manning won MVP in 28, and Kurt Warner and Phillip Rivers have more yards than him. Go look at the stats. But it doesn't matter if Lamar Jackson wins the championship, because I believe he will. Somebody is always going to find ways to criticize him. And this is not just Lamar. This is in life period. Somebody's always going to hate, always going to find something to say, yeah, you're a great player, but there's always a but. Instead of just saying, you know what, that's a damn good player over there. But again, right there in front of you, another classic example, the national media, sports media towards Lamar Jackson. Clear. And try to come back and apologize. She kind of doubled down on her comments. So we got to be better. We really got to be better. But that's going to conclude this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I'm out of here. Y'all have a good night. Peace. Stay up.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank thank you, yeah. I wanna thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I wanna thank you. And I wanna thank you. All I wanna do is say thank you for everything you do.